Hello, everybody, and welcome to this live stream event for OCD and the brain. We're really delighted that you're able to join us for the next hour or so together. So my name is Jo. I'm a Public Engagement Manager at University College London, and I'm part of a much bigger team, of which you'll see some people on the screen and you'll meet some people later on as well. We're quite an international team, so I'm hoping there'll be people joining us from all over the world as well. So if people want to say hi and maybe where you're joining from in the chat, we would love to see who's with us today as well. So while you do that, I've got just a few quick bits of housekeeping and a disclaimer to read out about the event. So firstly, please note that this live stream is educational and it's not intended to replace therapy. For treatment-related questions, please work with your provider or contact a local clinician. You can use the IOCDF's online resource directory, which Fran's just put on the screen, to locate a trained clinician near you. Also, a content warning. Some of our speakers will be sharing their own lived experience of OCD, including their experience of intrusive thoughts and the emotional impact of this. The animation that we will screen today also explores intrusive thoughts, compulsions, and the lived experience of OCD. Our ambition is for this live stream to be a safe space, but everyone joining should consider if hearing other people's lived experiences is helpful for them. There are lots of resources available if anyone is experiencing difficult emotions or in a crisis or might need support. So these will be available on the screen and in the chat, and we have moderators available to signpost any relevant resources as well. And then finally, we want this to be a safe space for everyone to join and take part. So please be mindful of that and kind of respectful to one another. And just to note that this is being broadcast on several social media platforms and is being recorded. Brilliant. So that is all of the housekeeping from us. And I can see some people popping in the chat. So hello and welcome to everybody that's joining. So to get us started talking about OCD and the Brain Project, first of all, I'd love you to meet the other people who are on screen with me. So Tobias, Liz and Lee, I wondered if you could just do a very quick intro to who you are, and then we'll start talking about the project properly. So Tobias, maybe if you go first.
Yes, hi, thank you for the introduction, and great to see so many people here joining the live stream. My name is Tobias Hauser. I'm the lead researcher who has initiated this project together with my fantastic colleagues here. I'm currently based in Germany, and I'm a professor here, and I also work at UCL in London.
Thanks so much, Tobias. Liz, can I ask you to introduce yourself?
Thank you, Jo. I'm Liz Lindley. I'm the Director of External Relations and Partnerships for the International OCD Foundation, and it's just a privilege to be here. This is a wonderful project, and thank you all for joining us.
Thank you very much, Liz. And last but not least, Lee.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Lee Warbank. I'm the CEO at OCD Action, and I'm based in the UK, and I'm thrilled to be here. I'm really pleased to see so many people have joined us today.
Thanks so much, Lee. So you'll meet many other people from the team a bit later today. But just to start talking about the project and why we're all here. So OCD and the Brain is a collaborative project which has brought together OCD researchers, IOCDF, OCD Action, engagement specialists, and lots of members of the OCD community. And it came about from Tobias and his team, who you'll meet some of the members later, who find when they're doing their research into OCD and why it particularly emerges in adolescence, that there seems to be this disconnect, this knowledge gap between what the OCD research is focusing on and the kind of lived experience of the OCD community. So we wanted to do a project where we could really bridge that gap and bring the researchers and the OCD community closer together to make sure that OCD research is better aligned to the needs of the community, and together to co-produce some engaging and hopefully helpful resources about what we do know about OCD and the brain. So that's what we've done in this project. We've produced OCD and the Brain, which is a digital hub which has an animation, visuals, lots of information on there about what we do know about OCD and the brain. And that's funded by the Wellcome Trust. So thank you to them. So before we show you some elements of this new digital hub, I would love to invite both Liz and Lee to talk a little bit about, from their perspective, why this project matters and why they got involved in this collaboration. So maybe Liz, if I can ask you to go first.
Absolutely. Again, it's just been an honor to really be a part of this collective effort. It's just brought so many diverse and different perspectives from all over the world. And I'd like to thank our partners that are here today and the design team, and of course, the community members that work so hard on this project. Addressing the needs of the OCD community, especially young people and their families, is not only our mission, but it's our passion. We were founded on the importance of providing that support and building community. And this project matters because not only do I work for the IOCDF, I'm someone who's witnessed the impact of OCD firsthand as a parent. And understanding that interplay between the brain and OCD, providing the information to the public is just critical. It's critical in reducing stigma, increasing access to treatment, just empowering individuals with OCD and parents, again, like myself. And this very unique collaboration where so many different groups were represented, it just brilliantly broke down the complexities of the research, and it just translated into something just so engaging and dynamic and visual narrative that really shows what we can do together. And I could go on and on. I want to give everyone some time to add their thoughts, but again, this project showed that when we come together, we can break down these barriers and really make a difference.
Thank you so much, Liz. And Lee, I'd love to invite you as well to share kind of from your perspective, OCD Action, why this project matters and why you want to be involved.
I mean, I would echo a huge amount of what Liz said, actually. I think this project has the power to be, or has been and will be, completely transformational. I think it has the ability to empower people that engage with the hub to access treatment. And I think that is so important for everybody in the OCD community. I mean, I think lots of people would say that being able to understand the way that the brain works and how that interlinks with OCD, and how the way that the brain links with treatment and why treatment can be so effective, and really knowing why that works can be so empowering. And there's so much exciting research going on. The work that people like Tobias and other scientists are doing is so exciting, but for really understandable reasons. Sometimes I think that gets a bit lost in communication when we're kind of engaging with people in the OCD community. And I think this project has completely transformed that. I think it explains something in a really, really understandable way. And that is so comforting, empowering, inspiring, that I think this project is just so exciting and as I say, completely transformational.
Thank you so much, Lee. And yeah, it's been a real privilege for all of us kind of working from ECL, working with IOCDF and OCD Action and everybody else so closely as well. So thank you so much, both. So we would love to show you, we've been talking about the project, but we'd love to show you a sneak peek of what we've created together. And so I'm going to ask Fran to share the animation, which is one part of the digital hub for OCD in the brain. And yeah, we're really excited to share this. It's the first time it's been shared publicly. So yeah, please do enjoy. And just to note again, there are some mentions of intrusive thoughts and compulsions in there. But yeah, we're really excited to share this animation that we've co-created. And I'll ask Fran to share that now.
Is a mental illness that affects around 1 to
Dear OCD, who are you? Why do you exist? I want to understand you better.
Obsessive compulsive disorder, or OCD, is a mental illness that affects around 1 to 3% of the population. People with OCD typically experience obsessions, intrusive thoughts, doubts, urges, or images that can make the person feel very distressed and anxious, and compulsions, repetitive behaviors or thoughts typically aimed at reducing the anxiety, fear, or disgust caused by obsessions. OCD is a disorder of the brain, meaning that OCD symptoms are caused by how the brain works. Knowing more about the relationship and others to better understand the condition. The brain is the most complex organ in the body. It has billions of brain cells, which are grouped together to form different brain areas. These areas exchange information with each other, forming networks within the brain. In OCD, networks known as the frontostriatal loops are thought to be especially important. These networks affect the brain's ability to prioritize, frontostriatal loop as a busy traffic junction. There are cars, bikes and pedestrians that need to be managed effectively for the traffic to move smoothly. Traffic light signals help to direct how the traffic flows. If the timing of the traffic lights is off, the junction will no longer be managed effectively, and there will be disruption. In a similar way to the traffic junction, researchers believe that imbalances within the frontostriatal loops may disrupt the information flow and could be driving obsessions and compulsions. For example, through imbalances in small chemicals called neurotransmitters. These imbalances may prevent the brain from regulating intrusive thoughts or suppressing urges to perform compulsions. This can result in OCD symptoms. Understanding the brain functions and imbalances that are involved in OCD is key to and response prevention and medication that aim to target these relevant brain networks.
Discover what we currently know about OCD in the brain on this website.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, everyone. And apologies, there were a few technical glitches with that, so it probably didn't run quite as smoothly as it should have done. So apologies, that's what happens when we do these things live sometimes. But I promise on the website itself, which you'll be able to explore in your own time, that will run smoothly and you'll be able to watch it fully. So apologies for the slight technical issues. But that animation really is a kind of teaser for what else goes into more detail on OCD and the brain. So there's lots. It's kind of a teaser of what else is on the site, which you'll be able to explore shortly in your own time as well. So I would love next to invite on the screen two of the people who were really instrumental in helping us to co-create the animation and the digital hub. So Uma and Maya, I think, should be joining us shortly. Fantastic. So Uma and Maya are two of the community gatekeepers who are part of the project. And I know they've got a few questions that they'd love to put to Tobias about why this matters from the research perspective. So I'll hand over to you, Uma and Maya, if you can maybe introduce yourselves and then take it away.
Absolutely. So my name is Uma Chatterjee, and I am a neuroscientist. I'm a PhD student. I'm also someone who lives with OCD. And so to be able to bring both those perspectives to this project is such an honor. And we have Maya as well.
Hi, I'm Maya. I am a OCD lived experience advocate and OCD advocate at the IOCDF. And I'm also a researcher like Uma, but more from the psychological side. And yeah, I'm really excited to be here and to interview Tobias.
We are so happy to talk to Tobias because, as I think a huge part of this conversation we're going to have is that we as researchers understand that there is such a gap between the research communities and the lived experience communities. And this is such an amazing example of how that gap doesn't have to exist anymore. And Tobias and his team and Joe really took on the perspectives of people with lived experience and co-created this with such care and respect for our perspectives, and really understood what we needed, and created a way to convey this amazing information to us and to let us help shape how this comes out to the world. And so, all that being said, with this model of how possible and successful this conversation can be, Tobias, I'd love to know on your end, what was your experience of including people with lived experience in this project? And what advice do you have for other researchers who want to do this? Because they can, if you can.
Well, thank you so much, Uma and Maya, again for your huge contributions to the project, and also for asking me these questions. Well, to be honest, I was totally naive when before this project. I had not had any experience with public engagement, and so this was my first learning experience, and it was transformational. It was really changed the way we approach even our own research, and even the directions of our research, where we're going. So I think for us, it was the first time where we could really talk to people with lived experience as equals, because usually in the lab, there's always a hierarchy. You're the expert, and the person with lived experience is the participant. And so there's automatically not this crosstalk as much. And here we really had time to talk, to exchange ideas, to understand what is the thing that is really important to people with lived experience. And as I said, this has affected on how we do research. And I think, my tip for other researchers would just be, just do it. There's no secret recipe. I was extremely lucky to have fantastic partners on board. So on the one hand, the two charities, OCD Action and IOCDF, who really kind of set up the lab, the whole structure, who knew the people and had the network. And then on the other hand, the public engagement experience with Jo and her team, who facilitated, who knew what is important and how that should be run. And so we could just enjoy the ride and be part of it. And that was fantastic.
Yeah, this is really exciting stuff. And honestly, I wish I had a toolkit like this earlier on in my OCD journey to help better understand my disorder, and have hope in the knowledge that researchers like you are actively studying it and making progress in our knowledge and understanding about OCD. So my question is, what gaps in our knowledge of OCD do you potentially plan on studying in the future? And I think hearing this will give hope to those of us with OCD that we're on our way in terms of learning more about the disorder, especially in terms of how it intersects with the brain.
Yeah, so there are a few directions our lab is going. As you've seen in the animation, as you will see on the website, we already know a lot about how the OCD and the brain are related, and what the role of the brain is playing. But we still know, there's still a lot of things that we don't know. So for example, how are certain symptoms arising? And so we are doing that by putting people in the scanner and looking at their brain activity, but we also doing new ways. So for example, we've created a smartphone app called Brain Explorer, which everyone can just download on their phone and play engaging games. And by doing that, we can understand how people make decisions and how that is related to symptoms such as indecisiveness, which is quite common in OCD as well. So this is one direction to understand the brain better and how it affects OCD. The other thing is, how can we use that meaningfully to improve treatment and interventions? So, for example, we know that we have very effective treatments, but they don't benefit for everyone. But we don't really know who will benefit from, let's say, CBT and who will not. And what we want to understand is there something in the brain that can tell us that? And if we can do that, we could actually use these markers to predict whether someone is more likely to benefit from cognitive behavioral therapy with exposure and response prevention or with SSRIs. And so that's another direction where we try to understand and use brain research to help people with OCD.
Thank you so much for all the work that you and your team do. Thank you for everything you've poured into this project and for including us. And I know, especially as researchers, we're very excited to continue working with you and building up this knowledge about OCD. And we just can't wait to see what comes.
That's fantastic to hear. And a big shout out to my team who I have dragged in, and they may have underestimated how much work it's going to be, but they were fantastic. They put so much work into it. So also a big shout out to my team.
Thanks so much, Uma, Maya, and Tobias. Yeah, really brilliant to hear kind of the research perspective and how the impact that this project has had and continues to have as well. I wanted to just take us back a step as well, and we've talked a bit about kind of the end products of this co-creation, but I wanted to talk through actually the process of how we kind of brought in both the research perspective and the lived experience perspective. So I've got some slides which should pop up on the screen, I think, shortly. So I firstly wanted to acknowledge, so you'll hear from quite a few of the team members today, but I wanted to acknowledge and thank everybody that's been involved in this project, because we've got a really passionate, huge, brilliant team. And I think one of the real strengths of this project, as Uma, Maya, and Tobias were just talking about, and Lee and Liz as well, is actually how many people have been involved in everyone being able to bring their unique perspectives and experiences and expertise about OCD to the table. So whether that's from the research team's perspective, from the engagement team, and both charities, the creative team, who I'll mention in a second, and most importantly, all of the fantastic lived experience experts who've been instrumental throughout this project. So I just wanted to thank and acknowledge everyone for being involved, and also welcome for funding the project again. So we've talked about kind of that disconnect that Tobias, Uma, and Maya were just discussing. And so what we want to do in this project is really try to bridge that. So our aims were to better understand how young people living with OCD and parents view the brain's role in OCD, to better align the research to the needs of the community, which is what Tobias was just mentioning, and then to co-produce some effective resources about what we know about OCD in the brain. So that's kind of what we set out to do with this project. And we did it through 3 different stages. So I just wanted to chat quickly through the process that we've been through. So the first one was some creative workshops, which were designed and facilitated by Rachel Bauer, who you can see in the top left of my screen. So we had 2 streams. We had one stream with young people living with OCD and a researcher, and the second stream with parents and guardians of young people living with OCD and some researchers. And we had 3 workshops together. And the aim of this really was to share experiences about OCD and to exchange ideas about what we think is going on in the brain with OCD. We had some creative boxes that we posted out, and these had lots of different creative activities in, which we did together. And some of these were really to explore different people's experiences and perspectives about OCD. Some of the activities were kind of drawing out, what do people want to share? What do people want the world to know about OCD that's not really out there or not spoken about enough? And lastly, what do people want to know about OCD? So are there questions they have? Is there information that isn't really out there about OCD in the brain that we could kind of fill that gap? So a huge thank you to everyone who took part in our workshops for sharing so openly and honestly. We were able to gather so much incredible information that really served as the basis for our resource. So with lots of shared experiences and questions that emerged from the workshops, and one of those is the poem that is at the start of the animation, which was written by Rachel based on the insights from the workshops. And some of the questions, kind of specific questions that people had, or themes that emerged, which have really formed the basis for the OCD and the brain resource. So huge thank you again to everyone who was involved in the workshops. So that gave us a really good basis for what we thought we needed in terms of content. And that takes us to the second stage of the project, which is content co-development. So for this stage, we brought on board 10 community gatekeepers, of which you've met Uma and Maya, and you'll meet a few more very shortly. And together with the community gatekeepers, the charities, the research and engagement teams, we worked together in online sessions to build on the themes that came out of the workshops and to really start to develop the resource. So firstly, we looked at existing examples of resources out there. And with that in mind, we kind of developed some shared principles for what we wanted our toolkit and resource to fit. So we wanted it to be simple, approachable, trustworthy, for example. And we refined exactly which topics and questions we wanted to explore. We then really dug into the content. So as a group, we looked at all of the content, the questions, the themes that emerged, and we broke it down into kind of sections that we thought would be more digestible. And we looked at the language, the way we were kind of explaining and exploring these topics to make sure that they would be accessible and useful for people. We then, through these discussions, knew that kind of visuals and making things really engaging would be a brilliant way to bring the content to life. So we brought on board Boyle and Perks, who are our creative partner on the project, and they really helped us to explore things like the colour, the look, the feel, the sound, all of the kind of aspects for how we could bring this content to life. So we did this through different stages. There were very early drafts of the website. There were early drafts of an animation for the storyboard. And together as a group, we went through in lots of detail all of the different aspects of both the website and the animation to make sure that it would fit the needs of the community. So huge thank you to everyone who was involved in that, particularly our community gatekeepers. You were so instrumental in the resources that we have co-produced together. So that brings us to where we are now, which is launching the project. So we're so glad for those of you who are able to join us today for the launch. And we hope that you will enjoy kind of exploring the digital hub in your own time and sharing it with anyone that you think might find it useful and relevant as well. So I just wanted to share quickly, which I think hopefully should work. Can everyone see that? Yeah, so you've seen the animation, which sits on the homepage of the website. So I'll let you explore this all in your own time, but I just wanted to give a quick look through the website and signpost a few things. So the homepage has the animation front and center, and you can see all of the partners involved, social links, things like that. And then the main bit of the resource sits on this What We Know page. So this is kind of where all of the workshop discussions, the discussions with the community gatekeepers has kind of been distilled into these key chapters, which you can see on the left. The content is brought to life in hopefully a visual and engaging way through quotes and visuals created by Boyle and Perks. And then we've also got these pop-up kind of any technical terms that are explained through a glossary. So you can go through in your own time and explore these different chapters about the brain and the brain's role in OCD, the research and the treatment. So that's where the kind of the main bit of our resource sits. But we also, through our discussions, knew that it was important to signpost useful resources. So we've also collated lots of useful resources, particularly through IOCDF and OCD Action, who've got brilliant resources available. And so there's lots of things that you can explore around treatments, support, experiences of other people living with OCD there as well. Then we've got a glossary. So all the technical terms which you might come across when you're reading this website or reading about OCD might be helpful there. And then finally, we've got a behind the scenes page. So a bit like we've done today, kind of a behind the scenes of how we developed this resource. So you can see some of the outputs from the workshops. And then we've got some short videos where different people from the team have reflected on the project and kind of the impact on them. So please do have a look through those as well. And then you can meet the whole team at the bottom of that page as well. So that's a very quick look through the website. And as I say, that will be live after today. So you will very much be able to explore that in your own time. And we hope it is a useful resource that you're able to explore for yourself and share with anyone else that might be relevant as well. But I would love now to invite some of the other community gatekeepers who've been so instrumental in co-creating this with us to the screen. And then we've got a few questions that I'd love to put to people. So I think people should be popping up shortly. Fantastic. Hi, Zach. Hi, Kyle.
Hello. Hello.
So we were, hi, Kathy. Hi, Kim. Hi, Uma. So we were incredibly lucky to have this brilliant group of community gatekeepers join our project. So huge thank you to everyone involved. Not everyone is here today, but yeah, huge thank you to everyone who's involved. So what I would love to do is ask people to reflect on a different aspect of the project, really. So I'll start with Zach, if that's okay. So I wondered, Zach, if you would mind maybe introducing yourself and telling us a bit about why you wanted to get involved in OCD in the brain.
Yeah, sure. All right, I'm Zach. I'm from Wales in the UK, and I am an OCD advocate. I run my own mental health page where I've just talked about my own experiences with OCD. I consider myself recovered now as well. But I really wanted to be a part of this project just because seeing it and being a part of it has been so exciting and just something like this would have been so great to have when I was younger. And even now, I know very little about I knew very little about the neurology behind OCD. And I've really found it it's made things so much simpler to understand the OCD process, I suppose. But yeah, I think I really want to kind of, whilst on this earth, have made a really good impact in the OCD community, and this feels like such a good project to have been invited on to talk for. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Zach, and yeah, thank you so much for all of your contributions as well. It's been fantastic working with you on this. Brilliant. Next, I'd love to invite Kyle, who I think some of you might know from other live streams. So Kyle, I wondered if you could introduce yourself and maybe talk a little bit about kind of your experience of working with other community members, with the researchers, and anything you kind of learn, I guess, through the process.
Yeah. So to introduce myself, my name's Kyle. I was at high school senior there for a second. I'm a senior in college. I'm studying neuroscience, and like Uma, I do a little OCD research on the side. And I also have OCD, and have been advocating for a while with the International OCD Foundation. This project was it was really fun, and it was really fun interacting with the researchers, because I've interacted with researchers in different capacities while I've had OCD and been like a subject in studies, and then been on the more research end of studies. And it was just really nice to be in an environment where I felt like we were equal partners with the researchers, those of us with lived experience, and the researchers, like Tobias was talking about. That there didn't feel to be any hierarchy in it. It felt really rewarding to have a research team really want to hear about what the lived experience perspective was like. And then it was really interesting speaking with the other community gatekeepers, because they just had perspectives on a lot of the questions that were different than mine. I mostly work with young adults, and I talk to young adults, and it was really nice to hear from people who are a little bit older than myself, people a little bit younger than myself, about their perspectives on some of the things that went into this toolkit, and what they thought would be helpful. And as far as what I learned, although I would think that I know a good amount about this disorder, I definitely learned a lot about the neurobiology of it. I definitely had to brush up on frontal striatal loops. Haven't read about that in quite some time, so that was good. And I think I just had no conception of how much goes into making a project like this, like how much deliberate thought and development, and then reiterating the development because something was a little off, and how much time it takes to make a product that everyone can be proud of and everyone pitched into. So it was cool to see from the back end how much work goes into something like this, and I hope it can be helpful.
Thank you so much, Kyle. And again, thank you so much for sharing today and for all of your contributions as well. Really appreciate it. Next, I'd love to invite back Uma, who you've already met today. So Uma, I wondered if you could talk a bit about why you think OCD in the brain matters.
Yes, so like I said before, I'm first and foremost someone who lives with OCD. And as a result of living through the horrific nature of what OCD undiagnosed and untreated does to a person, full circle, now I am in school becoming a neuroscientist and studying OCD. And the reason that this project is so important is because we just do not have an understanding of the research going on with OCD. There is such a gap, like I said before, between all of the amazing research being done and the lived experience communities. And very clearly, people in the lived experience community want to know what is going on in our brains, what is causing this suffering, and why treatment works within people. And so this project makes that possible. There's been so few avenues to be able to take all of the very dense and sometimes hard to understand information that researchers are doing, as someone who understands that side now, and bring that to a level where it is both accurate yet still understandable by people who don't, spend all of their time looking at frontostriatal loops or, looking at the molecular aspects of cells and all of the things. So there's just so much to be done. And honestly, I feel like this toolkit really helps destigmatize OCD, because as we all know, OCD has such a far way to go in being understood by the public as, not a quirk or an adjective, but a genuine disorder of the brain. And by this toolkit communicating all of the ways in which there's dysfunction and there are differences in the brains of people with OCD, and really talking about the biological basis of this disorder, it's really just destigmatizing the disorder by saying that this isn't a choice. Nobody chooses OCD. Nobody chooses to act this way, that this is genuinely being driven by things going on in the brain, and that there's hope because we are looking into it, we're researching it. So I think that this toolkit is going to change the way we perceive OCD, both within the lived experience community and people who want the validation and understanding and hope that we are looking into this, distressful, horrific disorder that we all wish we didn't have. And for the millions, if not billions of people in the world who don't understand OCD, that could just simply watch this, that could go on this website, come across it. And also researchers and other clinicians who, think they may understand OCD, but they really don't. I know we've all encountered them. And this is just such a beautiful, accessible way for people of all ages and all walks of life to understand this condition. So I could not be more excited for this to be out in the world and to really bridge our worlds and to be an example of what is possible when we include all these perspectives in one space.
Thank you so much, Uma, and thank you again for you sharing today, and also for all of your contributions to the project as well. Really appreciate it. Next up, I'd love to invite Kathy to the screen. So Kathy, it'd be great if you could introduce yourself and maybe talk a bit about, for you, if this toolkit maybe had been available earlier in your journey with OCD, how might that have helped you and your loved one? Is there anything you might have taken from it?
Great, absolutely. My name's Kathy Stocking, and I am the parent of an adult child with OCD who helps start support groups for other parents who have adult children with OCD. And I really do wish that this digital hub had existed earlier in my son's journey with OCD. Adolescence can be a challenging time for everyone, even families with neurotypical children. And when you have an adolescent diagnosed with OCD, there are additional layers of concern. You want to understand OCD and learn how to help support your child to live with this mental illness. From my experience helping support parents of adult children with OCD, I know that families feel scared and isolated, and they often don't know how to access trusted sources of information and treatment options. The OCD in the Brain website explains how OCD affects the brain, and with input and links from organizations like OCD Action and IOCDF, it's a hub of information for OCD sufferers and their families. If we had had access to this resource years ago, I think it would have been a way for our family to review and process information about OCD individually and together in the comfort of our own homes and at whatever time was convenient to us. I believe our son would have had an opportunity to better understand himself and his experience in a way that would have allowed him to feel like he was being seen and understood. And I think it would have helped us all communicate better with each other. The OCD and the Brain website contains scientifically researched and user-friendly information that has been vetted by both experts and people with lived experience. And I hope families everywhere living with OCD will be helped by OCD and the Brain, the website. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Kathy. And just to thank you so much for sharing, and completely echo that. We very much hope that this is a helpful resource for many, many people. So thank you so much, Kathy, for sharing and for all of your input to the project as well. Next up, I'd love to invite back Maya, who you've already met today. And Maya, I wondered if you could talk a bit about if kind of working on this project, kind of working with the research, has it had any impact on kind of your own OCD journey?
Yeah, definitely. I've always said that knowledge is power. And when I was going through the thick of my OCD, I was researching and looking up any information I could find on OCD. And this knowledge hub is a really great area to just find all of that information. And honestly, learning about OCD in the brain a little bit more, because like I said, I'm more focused on the psychological side in my research. It really helped show me that there is research going on like the neurobiological side of OCD as well as psychological. And it kind of just gives me hope that in the future, in the near future, we might have a better understanding of the disorder. And like Tobias said, we're translating our better understanding into better treatments. So it kind of just gives me hope, which just makes OCD recovery a little bit easier. I mean, OCD recovery and treatment is very hard, but it is so worth it. And just having that hope that researchers are actively studying these things and things might get more understandable for us in the very near future and we might have better treatments. It just really gives me hope that things can get better, especially for future generations of people with OCD. And it also, on a personal level, kind of makes me more willing to stay in recovery from OCD, because as a researcher, I want to contribute to the growing body of knowledge that we have about OCD. So I can't exactly be a researcher while my OCD is really, really high and scary and everything. So I want to stay in recovery so that I can contribute to this growing body of knowledge. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Maya, for sharing, and again for all of the contributions that you've given to the project as well. It's been fantastic. And then finally, I'd love to invite Kim on screen. So Kim, I wondered if you could talk a little bit around, maybe introduce yourself, and then if you have a message for anyone that might be struggling with OCD, if there's any message that you would like to share.
Yes, hi, I'm Kim Vincenti. I'm an IOCDF advocate. I was formerly a president of an IOCDF affiliate. And a little less than 2 years ago, I launched my own nonprofit, Jack Mental Health, to serve this community that I love with all my heart. I love it so much because I started out as a mom of someone that lives with OCD, and I can't look away. So what I'd like to say to those struggling with OCD is, as Maya said, knowledge is power. And you can't just read it one time. Adding another resource like this is critical to us understanding everything about what we're living with. I would encourage everybody to tune into those live streams by all these brilliant affiliates and advocates that have been here today. Read the OCD Action website, the IOCDF website, and engaged with this information regularly, because it's important reminders when we're getting beaten down by this brutal disorder, what we need to do, where the research is leaning, how we can best support each other and our loved one with OCD. And if you're living with OCD and you have a mom like me that's maybe leaning into smother more than mother, try to remember that those of us that are supporting you love you with our whole heart, and we want to see your life full and well, and that you're getting to live your dreams. And OCD tries to take away that, and we cannot stand to see it. So, and then when parents do learn the tools, like stopping reassurance and accommodation and all those little tricks that OCD tries to weed into our lives, remember that we're not being mean or angry at you. We're just trying to support you in a way that's effective. So to all those that are living with OCD, I hope you will utilize this resource. It's incredible, it's user-friendly, and it's been a joy to serve on the team with these remarkable individuals. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Kim, for sharing, and again for all of your contributions to the project as well. And as Kim mentioned, there are some really fantastic resources that exist that we hope this OCD in the Brain kind of really complements and adds to. So it's an amazing community, and there's lots of fantastic resources out there that hopefully this adds to. Brilliant. Well, thank you again to all of our fantastic community gatekeepers and advocates who were so instrumental in this project. We're so grateful for all of your time and expertise. And there's a few people who went on the live stream, so a huge thank you to you as well. Brilliant. So for the last little bit of today, I would love to introduce back Lee and Liz on screen. And I'd also like to introduce Elisa, who is one of the researchers behind the project as well. Welcome back, all three. So maybe Elisa, if I can ask you to introduce yourself, first of all.
Yes, hi, I'm Elisa Lozen. I'm a researcher and I completed my PhD at UCL and also partially at Yale, and I researched OCD from a computational neuroscience and computational psychiatry perspective.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Lisa. So what I'd love to do in just the last few minutes of this live stream is really ask each of you to kind of reflect on if there's anything that maybe you've learned from your involvement in the project, or anything you're particularly planning on taking forward in your respective areas of work, whether that's the research side or the charity side, any reflections that you have. So maybe Elisa, can I ask you to go first, if you don't mind?
Yes, of course. So I was involved in a project from very early on, like the workshops you mentioned just a few minutes ago. And although I had previously worked with people affected by OCD in a research context before, this was the first time I had the opportunity to interact and also, most importantly, to collaborate with the community in a non-research setting, and also to engage with parents and caregivers of those affected by OCD, which was a very new experience for me that offered a completely new perspective. And I believe that the conversations we had during the development of this project, spanning about almost 2 years, were incredibly honest, raw, and emotional, and especially during the workshops. And I'm incredibly grateful for these conversations and discussions and for everyone who shared their experiences. And I think they provided me with a new and deeper level of understanding of OCD and life with OCD. And such an understanding is, I think, incredibly helpful for us researchers if we actually want to ask the right questions, and not only the right questions to improve the understanding of a disorder, to advance treatment development, but also to generate new knowledge and provide insight that is truly beneficial for the OCD community. And then, of course, obviously, like effectively communicating our research often poses a very significant challenge. And I think this project over the past 2 years has been a valuable learning experience, and it has taught us not only what information is crucial for the community, but also how we as researchers can convey it to engage a broader audience.
Thank you so much, Lisa. And yeah, huge thanks to you and Tobias, and also Karen and Tricia, who are part of the research team, who've put so much work into the project as well. So thank you so much. So maybe if I go to Liz next, if you're happy to reflect on, anything you've taken from the process of the project, and anything that you might be taking on in your work at IOCDF.
Oh, absolutely. There's so many things that I personally learned, and then as an organization, we've always valued including those with lived experience and parents in creation of resources. Yet this project, I know OCD Action and IOCDF have had a long-standing relationship, but I can certainly say that we've never, ever collaborated at this level, have we, Lee? It's just been a phenomenal project. And frankly, it's a blueprint for future partnerships. Really, some takeaways from this are how we can, when we work collaboratively with those other voices and organizations out there, we can do some really amazing things. And the magic here that occurred, listening to those in the lived experience, in the parent groups, and really allowing them to have such an amazing impact on the design, the animation, obviously the gap that existed between the information and the resource and the research. It's just a phenomenal success, and I look forward to future partnerships, not only with OCD Action and UCL, but other partners that we have and potential partners. I think, again, this is something that we can take forward. It's always better together. And we really appreciated the opportunity to be a part of this, because I think the outcome is extraordinary.
Thank you so much, Liz. And yeah, thank you to you and Boris and Stephanie from IOCDF as well, who've been so instrumental throughout this whole process. So thank you so much. And then last but not least, Lee, I wondered if you could reflect on anything, you've taken from the project and OCD Action's work.
I think there's been two main things. I mean, one, I think the opportunity to work in partnership, and that's been wonderful from an organisational perspective, working with yourselves at UCL and working with the researchers and working with the IOCDF has just been wonderful. And I think what we have achieved together has been brilliant. I think there has been something that actually I think Carl spoke a bit about in the earlier interviews, in terms of the real moment that we got to in terms of genuine equal power and real meaningful co-production. And there was a feeling in that I think we got to kind of at a certain point through the project where I really felt like everybody's voice was being equally heard, and there was real kind of almost like flow in terms of the way that things were working. And I think that's why the toolkit is such high quality. And I think I will remember that feeling as we move forward as an organisation, and really hold on to that and know that that is what co-production can and will feel like. And I will hold on to that, because I think that's what makes things such high quality when you work together co-productively. And I think that has what's been so exciting about this project. And I think that's what gives me so much hope. And I think the other thing that I've really learned is I've learned a lot about the way that the brain works and how important it is to the OCD community actually to have that, and how much hope it brings, and really how important it is for us as an organisation to do what we can to bring that knowledge to the wider community and be part of this kind of project, and really do anything we can in terms of that. So I think they're the big things that I've learned in this project. And yeah, I just want to thank everybody, because it's been such a pleasure to be involved in.
Thank you so much, Lee. And yeah, really fantastic working with OCD Action and Cara and your team as well, who's been amazing throughout as well. Fantastic. So that's bringing us towards the end of this live stream. So I have a few things that I would love just to update people on. So the first thing is the website should hopefully be live very soon, if not already. So hopefully someone might be able to post that link in the chat, and we'd love you all to explore it, share it. Yeah, have your own time to look at all of the resources that we've put together, and we'd love to hear what you think about it. We also have a project Instagram account, which is at OCD in the Brain. So we'll share any kind of relevant updates about the project, but also the relevant research and things like that as well. Oh yeah, that's the website that's just popped up, and hopefully the Instagram handle might pop up in a second as well. So please do explore that. We're also going to be adding kind of in the resources section, that's something we see as kind of evolving with time. So if there's anything that you think would be useful to add there or link to, that will be something that will continue to update and evolve as well. And I know Uma is working on a kind of a bit more of an in-depth behind the scenes of some of the other research that's going on, and a bit of a tool into lots of the research into OCD as well. So that will be linked to from the resources as well. A couple of quick updates is we will have a German language version of OCD in the Brain coming soon. That will be in the next few months. So do look out for that as well if you've got any people in German-speaking countries or German-speaking colleagues, friends, peers who might find it useful. We're also going to be writing a case study of the project and kind of the process of how we've involved everybody throughout, because we hope it is something that, as Tobias and Uma and Maya were talking about, that maybe other researchers can take on as a model within OCD and also more broadly as well. So we'll be sharing that over the next few months. And then last but not least, OCD Action, IOCDF and UCL have committed to making sure that this resource, we don't want it to kind of become dormant. We want it to stay up to date, relevant, and as useful as possible. So it is something that all three organisations will continue to review and update and make sure that it is as useful and relevant as possible. So we very much see it as something that evolves as we find out new information from the research side. If there's more new resources, useful information, it's something that we hope to evolve and adapt over time as well. So I think that's everything from us, other than just to say a huge thank you to everybody who has joined the live stream to find out about the project. Thank you so much for spending your Saturday with us. Thank you so much to everybody who's spoken on the live stream as well, to all of the workshop people who've been involved, to Rachel for facilitating those workshops, all of the fantastic community gatekeepers, IOCDF and team, and OCD Action and team, and all of the researchers as well. It's been a real privilege working across with so many different fantastic people, and thank you also to Wellcome for funding this project as well. So I'll leave it there. Thank you so much, everybody. And yeah, we really hope you find OCD in the Brain a useful resource. Thanks so much. Take care.